Hey everyone. So, here's the thing. Oh, I made a funny. Anyway, yesterday was John Carpenter's 65th birthday, and I honestly had no clue about it until I went on Facebook yesterday. And Wednesdays are usually my television night because everything's on TV on Wednesday nights, like Arrow, Law and Order SVU, American Horror Story, The Soup, WWE main event. I mean, I can go on. So I didn't have any kind of marathon plan for Mr. John Carpenter, who I consider one of the greatest horror filmmakers of all time. But I decided to check out what is considered his best film, and that is 1982's The Thing. And while I was thinking about watching, I decided, you know what? Maybe I should check out the prequel again. 2011's The Thing. Or it should be titled The Thang, since it takes place before The Thing. My, my mind hurts. After rewatching both last night, I still think John Carpenter's 1982 version of The Thing is still a fantastic movie. One of the best horror slash sci-fi films you can ever watch. I think it may be his masterpiece next to probably Halloween. Um, as for the prequel, 2011's The Thing, I still like it. After I seen it the first time I saw it on DVD, liked it then, I still like it now. I think it's a pretty good film. It's not great. It's not good in the sense of the word, but I think for what it's trying to do, it does it pretty well. And I don't really get all the hate for it. I think it's because it's a reboot of the franchise, even though it's not really a franchise. But I think as his own film is actually not that bad. And before I even get to why that is, let's discuss the history of The Thing. In 1938, John W. Campbell Jr., under the pen name Don A. Stewart, published a science fiction novella titled Who Goes There? It was about a group of scientists in Antarctica who find a spacecraft and remove the alien pilot from a huge block of ice. Once the alien is thawed out, it kills a physicist and assimilates him, as well as a sled dog. When the crew discovers the dog thing and kill it, they become paranoid once they learn what the alien can do. It was a huge success and led to science fiction film history. In 1951, a loose adaptation produced and some say even directed by Howard Hawks called A Thing from Another World was released. Even today, it's a solid sci-fi film and considered one of the best sci-fi movies of the 1950s, along with Forbidden Planet, although it wasn't a very faithful adaptation of Who Goes There. John Carpenter, a huge fan of Howard Hawks, loved The Thing from Another World, so much so that parts of the film appeared during the babysitting scenes in Carpenter's 1978 landmark film Halloween. 4 years later, Carpenter would release his own version of The Thing. However, instead of remaking The Thing from Another World, Carpenter decided to film a more faithful adaptation of John W. Campbell's novella. Unfortunately, The Thing was a box office bomb in 1982, due to it being released 1 week after the release of Steven Spielberg's blockbuster E.T. the Extraterrestrial. But due to VHS, DVD, and now Blu-ray, The Thing has gained quite the solid reputation as one of the best sci-fi slash horror films ever made. Many even consider it John Carpenter's masterpiece. Due to his growing reputation, Universal Studios decided to capitalize on it by trying to recreate a reboot to The Thing in the late 2000s. After many rewritten scripts, changes in directors, and John Carpenter eventually backing out of the project, The Thing was finally released in early October of 2011. And like the Carpenter version, it too bombed at the box office. Only time will tell if the DVD and Blu-ray market will garner it the reputation John Carpenter's film has had. Now that we know all that info, let's do our thing and review this bad boy. A trio of Norwegians driving through the tundra in Antarctica fall through some thin ice, and they discover alien life buried and frozen within a huge chunk of ice. A researcher named Dr. Sander Halverson, played by Ulrich Thompson, and his assistant Adam Finch, played by Eric Christian Olsen, go to America to meet with paleontologist Kate Lloyd, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and ask for her help with unearthing this alien creature. Halverson only cares about studying this creature, even though Kate sees it as a danger to the crew. Kate's intuition about the alien proves right, when the alien escapes his frozen prison and hides until it's ready to strike. The Norwegian crew finds itself being haunted by this thing, a life form that can assimilate the cells of anything organic and change into its shape, especially humans. Kate, realizing that this thing can lead to Armageddon, decides she needs to know who in her crew are human and who may already be infected by the thing. So like I mentioned earlier, The Thing 2011 is a pretty good film. I mean, it's not perfect and it does have its flaws, and I mean, it has major flaws that I'll get into. But it's an okay film. It's a pretty fun film. It's not a film I would turn off anytime soon. I think as a prequel to John Carpenter's film, it's not that bad. And I remember when the trailer to this came out back in 2011, and my God, the things people said about it, it was just like, wow. I mean, the flames from these fanboys really were visible. It's just like the Evil Dead deal right now with the whole trailer to the remake. Um, I used to be that guy, but after pretty much Halloween came out, the remake of Halloween, which, if you don't know, that's my favorite film, so it kind of killed me that someone actually remade it. Um, I became indifferent to remakes and to prequels and sequels. I just think, it's a trend that's here right now. It's not going away anytime soon, so why bitch about it? Um, and with this one, I really didn't see the reason to bitch about it. Nothing was going to change. The studios only care about his money. I mean, yeah, you can complain all you want, but most likely nothing's going to change. And I don't think this film is bad. I don't think this film warranted that hate. Obviously, no one wants to see it in the theater because of the bad buzz, but I think it deserved a better audience than what it got. So, what's good about the prequel of The Thing? Well, first there's the cast. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is pretty good as Kate Lloyd, the lead character in the prequel of The Thing. She's more Ellen Ripley than MacReady, but I think she does the role pretty well. She's a smart woman, she's very tough, also very vulnerable. I do think there are moments where she should have been more in the moment, but for overall, I thought she did a pretty good job. The rest of the cast, such as Joel Edgerton, Ulrich Thompson, and Eric Christian Olsen, also did a good job in this film. I mean, there are no Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, or Keith David, but I think for the most part, this cast did a pretty solid job in making this prequel pretty enjoyable. I also thought the special effects in this movie were also pretty good. I mean, they're not to the level of Rob Bottin's practical effects, but I do think for the most part they do work. It's obvious that the filmmakers and the special effects team were very much influenced by the original design of Rob Bottin's work in John Carpenter's version of the thing. And although they're not as gross or as scary as those effects were, I still think they're kind of cool to look at. The space creature itself looks pretty cool, and I think the transformations when the creature begins to show itself out of its human form are actually pretty solid. I did hate the last act when it came to the CGI. I thought that whole final half hour was a mess. I thought when they go inside the spaceship and you see that all those disco light colors and you see the last thing human hybrid inside the spaceship, I think that's was terrible. It's really silly and it comes across as really desperate, really forced. It was almost as if they forgot that this was supposed to be a very suspenseful, tense-filled sci-fi horror film and decided, hey, we have this very slow burn in the first hour and let's just throw everything in the last half hour and it just doesn't work. And I thought that's when the CGI was really distracting and was pretty much a slap to the face to the rest of the CGI that was used in the first hour of the film. And I think that was due to the fact that the studio got complaints during the test screening about the special effects, the practical effects in this film, and decided that they wanted more CGI, which is a shame. But I think for the most part, the special effects here aren't that bad. They're actually pretty good. There's some CGI mixed with the practical, but you can't really tell at all during that first hour that it's CGI, so that's pretty good. I also thought the direction was half and half as well. There was no tension or suspense like the Carpenter version. I think the mood here of that whole paranoia, isolation, kind of claustrophobic effect was totally missed here. But at least the film is paced well. At least the picture looks nice. At least it tries to look like it's from the 80s. The film does take place in 1982. So there are moments where it does look like it could be from the 80s. There are moments that do look like they're from modern times. But I think at least there was an attempt to do something cool here. Like I said, the mood and the tone were totally off. There was no tension in this film at all, except for maybe the part where they're showing the feelings to see which one's an alien, which was not. I think that was the only moment in the film where I felt like, wow, like it was building, like feel like tense. But other than that, it was just a pretty much a straightforward monster movie, which is not a bad thing. But when you do a prequel to The Thing, I mean John Carpenter's The Thing, that movie succeeds because of its tension, because of its suspense, because of its mystery. And this film doesn't have it at all, which is unfortunate. But I do think the rest of the direction, like the editing, the cinematography, the pacing, the look of the film, I thought it was solid. And I also thought the most of the script was fine. It's wants to be a prequel. I think some of the questions that were in the John Carpenter version, like the skeleton that McCready finds in the cabin, the the scratches, the cuts on the door, are explained in this film, and I thought that was a very, very cool that they did that. And I thought the closing credits to this film that lead into John Carpenter's film, excellent job. I thought that was a very nice homage to John Carpenter's much superior film. But that whole final act was a mess. I think the characters could have been a little more multi-dimensional, even though that's not really an issue. I think my major problem with the story was how inconsistent it was with the John Carpenter version, mainly where it concerned the spaceship and finding the alien. And if you remember the John Carpenter version of The Thing, you will remember that McCready and the crew find footage of the Norwegian crew, which would be this crew in this prequel, finding the alien and breaking it out from the ice using explosives. In this film, we pretty much see these three guys driving through the tundra and they fall right through the ice. And this is how they find the spaceship. And the scientists eventually find the alien stuck in the ice, but they don't blow him out of there. They pretty much dig him out of there, which I think was a bad move. I don't know why they did that. I thought at first this was a mistake on the filmmaker's part, but I learned that this was actually intentional. And the reason why this was done, and I am not making this up, the director and the producer thought that the fact that Norwegian scientists could blow up an alien out of ice was far-fetched. Now, so blowing up ice to take out an alien creature is not realistic. Yet an alien assimilating human cells to take the form of a human is total reality? I mean, I don't get it. I thought that was bad. I think that's the real reason, too. I just think that's the most stupidest reasoning I ever heard. But yeah, that was a big goof, and I thought that took away a lot from the Thing prequel because it kind of went against itself. I mean, it's supposed to be a prequel to John Carpenter's film. It should follow what that film pretty much established, and it doesn't at all. So that was a bad move. But still, all in all, I think the Thing prequel is a pretty good film. Uh, yeah, I do like the cast. I thought the acting was fine. The direction, for the most part, is okay. The story is a straightforward prequel. I mean, it does what it needs to do for the most part. It leads into the John Carpenter film quite excellently. And the special effects within the first hour of the film are actually very, very good. But there are flaws, like I said, the whole blowing up the alien out of the ice was a mistake, and the CGI, especially in that final act of the film, was just awful. I just thought that was a bad move by the studio to do that. And I thought, the characters could have been a lot more fleshed out than they were. I mean, I barely knew any of their names. That's how bad it is. But overall, I think it's a pretty okay film. Like I said, as his own film, it's good. As a prequel, it's okay. So if it was his own film, I would probably give it a 3 out of 4. But since it's a prequel and it connects to another film, a much better film, I give it a 2.5 out of 4. I think it's above average. I don't think it's as bad as many people say it is. So, do you need to see this film before you see John Carpenter's 1982 film? No, you don't have to. I think both could be their own films, standalone films. And this prequel is a nice companion piece to have. Is it necessary to exist? No. But it's here, and it's not that bad. I don't get the hate for it at all. And would I watch it again? Yeah, why not? Every now and then I'll check it out. I think the John Carpenter version is the much superior version. I don't think it doesn't compare to that version. Anyone who says that this version is better than that version is out of their mind, in my opinion. That John Carpenter created a movie based on antitrust, based on paranoia, isolation, tension, suspense, mystery. This film tries to do that and doesn't really manage to make that happen. I think, you know, this film was probably made a bit too late, but I think for the most part it's pretty above average. It's pretty solid, and I can't really hate on the Thing prequel as much as I can hate on other prequels or other remakes. So the Thing prequel, 2.5 out of 4, and that's my review for it. I hope this was as cohesive as possible. I tend to babble a lot, so I apologize for that. So anyway, I'll probably see you next time with a review for uh that commercial annoying the fuck out of me. You have no idea. But you'll probably see that sometime this weekend. So until then, see you guys. Take care of yourselves. Later.